Hi there, this little video is going to be about the festival of Lughnasadh or Lammas, and there'll be a bit about the history of Lughnasadh, some folklore and how you can celebrate it yourself. Now, Lughnasadh is one of the cross-quarter fire festivals of modern paganism, and what that means is that the celebration of Lughnasadh is on August the 1st. And that lies pretty much in the middle between the summer solstice or Litha and the autumn equinox. So they would be the quarters, summer solstice, autumn equinox, and crossing them in the middle would be Lughnasadh or Lammas. And the four cross-quarter festivals or fire festivals, they're all linked with fire, are some of the most important and ancient in paganism and in history. So there is Lughnasadh, August the 1st. You have on the opposite end of the wheel, and the festival that people in the southern hemisphere will be celebrating whilst the northern hemisphere is celebrating Lughnasadh, is Imbolc. And that is the first birthing of life, the ewe's milk, the spark of life in the goddess Brigid. And I've done plenty of videos about that as well. That's one of my favourite festivals. Beltane or Bealtaine is also a fire festival, and that's the 1st of May. And then we have Samhain, which is our modern Halloween. And so Samhain is the eve, so that's the 31st, and November the 1st is often celebrated as the Celtic New Year, or this festival of the dead. So we have these four cross-quarter days which are steeped in folklore, mythology and stories and magical ways in which today we can practice. So grab yourself a cuppa. Yes, I am peaking a bit soon by having my Halloween mug out. To be honest, sorry, happy Meowloween. But to be honest, I've had this out all year round. Grab yourself a cuppa of something lovely and let's look at how we can celebrate Lughnasadh and how we can be in tune with the seasons and the movements of the year. So, as mentioned, Lughnasadh is celebrated on August the 1st, and it is the first harvest that we are celebrating. So here is my corn dolly that I get out every year at Lughnasadh, and the celebration of Lughnasadh is the first harvest, the harvesting of the grain. So if you can, somewhere nearby, or you can go on a little drive and find a field where you can harvest your own little bit of corn, or find your own corn sheaves to put on the altar or to make a little dolly with, or you can make different things with the corn. You can be creative, we'll come back to that later. Then to take a little soupçon, little mini bit of the corn, and having that on your altar is honouring the season, it's honouring the first harvest of the grain. It was thought to be unwise in Irish traditions to harvest the grain, the corn, before Lammas or Lughnasadh, because it would be, again, peaking too soon. It would be showing that maybe you've not got enough to go the whole year round. So it's traditionally the time when you can imagine everyone getting involved with this harvesting and the obviously hard work, especially if it was nice and warm and sunny, which right now in Britain it is not. We can imagine that everyone getting involved in the harvesting, it being a full community experience, and then the celebrations after it would also be riotous and huge, because this is the time of the shifting power of the sun god or the sun king. So the celebrations of Lughnasadh, I think I was reading somewhere, I'll try and put the link to where I was reading it, that there was, you know, in a character dressed as a great he-goat, and there'd be lots of sort of running around in like Pan and Caninos way style activities with very hilarious and sexual connotations, so around the village at Lammas, Lughnasadh. So there is this feeling of sexuality, of power, of masculine energy, and of living your fullest before the corn god, which is John Barleycorn here in Great Britain, in England, is sacrificed. So hence we get films like The Wicker Man, as Edward Woodward going on about your crops won't grow. The idea that there is a sacrifice at this time of year is an ancient one, And the mythology and the stories are that the corn god, the god of fertility, the god of the land, John Barleycorn, or however you wish to see the fertile god of the corn, would be sacrificed, or would sacrifice himself for the goddess, for the fertility, for the land. So when we think of it that way, it's a much more beautiful, powerful, poetic way of seeing that there has to be this sense of sacrifice. There has to be this sense of cutting the corn, of creating the grain, of creating the bread, creating the loaves, and celebrating life and abundance. It's a great time of year, if you are into bread making, to make your own lamas loaf, to make your own celebration with cooking and with harvesting the fruits. So maybe in your garden, your allotment, your balcony, your little space outside. I know I haven't got loads of space, but I have been growing some vegetables and fruits, and they are, for the most part, starting to come into fruition, literally, apart from some slugs have eaten quite a few of them, but that's a different problem. So yes, this is a time of the first harvest. We have 3 harvests: Lughnasadh, then the autumn equinox, which is what you remember at school maybe as the harvest festival. That is that time of harvesting and fruits, and that real central harvest festival of really taking in the abundance. And then the final harvest is Samhain, and that would be where any animals that were thought to be too old to survive a winter would be slaughtered. There would be a time of really preserving everything that you have, all the foods and all the abundance, so that it will be surviving the winter months. There's a very different energy around Samhain. It's a very cleansing, purifying, and kind of a deep and shadowy festival. I mean shadowy in the best possible way, between the worlds. So we're not there yet, though. Let's rein it back, even though I love all the festivals, to this one of solar power and the shifting energy of solar power. So when we're talking about the sun gods, I'm talking about Lu as the main god. Obviously his name goes into Lughnasadh, Lugh or Lu. It's his festival, it's his celebration. He has some links to the sun and being a bright one. He's a god of the Tuatha De Danann, and as Llw, he's also a Welsh hero. So he's very much a talented hero god. He is Lugh of the long hand, which means represents his spear, his very long spear, his magical spear that was which was known for in battle to be undefeatable. And also he is known as many skilled, as a craftsman, a blacksmith. So this is a powerful time to be developing skills, to be demonstrating or practicing your skills. So at this festival, you could be creating, you could be crafting. It doesn't mean you have to be amazing and good at everything, but to honour Lu and to honour his celebration, you could try your hands at something crafty or something sporty. I'll come to that in just a second. So with crafting, you could make something for your altar. It could be the food. You could take the harvests that you have, grown or bought from the supermarket. It's all fine. The harvest's a harvest, and make some food to share, to celebrate, and to share with your family, your loved ones, your friends. You may also want to craft something for your altar, or like a corn doll, or a goddess doll. You may wish to craft a wand or a staff. It's a great time to focus that solar energy, as Lughnasadh also is in the central point of Leo. So we are really working with very fiery, solar, powerful energies, and you can channel that into what you are creating and crafting. I was looking at this little dolly that I made. It's just a very simple little dolly I made at Imbolc this year, and she has the sign of Imbolc with the swan's feather, and also she has the corn there as well, and to kind of represent that direct Imbolc and Lughnasadh link, that connection. Imbolc being the first seed, the first spark of life, the beginnings, and Lughnasadh being the harvesting and the gathering of the work. So with this in mind, you may want to create your own doll for the altar, or a kind of a character, a clay creature for the altar, you know, whatever feels right for you. Could make a creation of the god, the deity, of the corn god, or of the goddess of the earth. But just being drawn to this very, you know, I love her. She's just done very basically. Imbolc doll, with that in mind, of the hopes that you had at Imbolc and the harvest, the first harvest that you have now, what a perfect time to stop and reflect. What were those seeds you were planting at Imbolc? What were those wishes you were wanting to bring in? This isn't a guilt check if you haven't done it yet, you know, fear not. This isn't a, have you done your work yet? It's more a check-in to see how far you have come. Maybe you've changed your plans. Maybe some things have manifested. Maybe some things are on the back burner. But this is a wonderful time to reflect back. And you may not immediately think of anything, but do take that time to reflect back to Imbolc. Maybe check your journal, your diary, and see what you did write down, or where you were at that time of year. What were your hopes, your thoughts, your dreams, and how have they manifested thus far? Again, 3 harvests. We got 2 to go afterwards, so there's time to adjust, to shift, and to work at what it is you truly want to bring in before the end of the summer, heading towards the winter time. So that is a really lovely thing to do at this time. It's very powerful to stop and reflect and see those seeds that you planted, metaphorically or physically, around Imbolc time, to tend them, to nurture them, and maybe to see which ones will be, you know, put to one side, which is not worked out, which hasn't been the path for you at this time, and to journal on that, to reflect on that. As I also mentioned, sports is a very has a very interesting link to Lughnasadh as well. So we've all heard of the Olympic Games, but have we heard of the Tailtown Funerary Games? Not as well known, but very, very interesting, and predates the Olympic Games. So funerary and games, yeah, it's an interesting concept, and probably quite a very, very, very ancient one. I have been to Tailtown in County Meath in Ireland, not for a very long time, and I would love to return. And there's some amazing earthworks there, and I was speaking to an old gentleman that lives there, and he was telling me about the Tailtown Games, the funerary games, which have been reinstated recently. They're very ancient, but fairly recently they've been brought back. And the Tailtown Games were to celebrate, or to commemorate, I think is the better word, in mythology and heroic history, the death of Lu's foster mother, who was called Tielta, or Tielcha. Or if I'm pronouncing it terribly wrong, again, please let me know. I'm always open to learning how to pronounce things better and properly. So yes, please let me know. And she was the goddess, a fertility goddess of the earth. And she was the foster mother of Lu. And when she died on August the 1st, the funerary games were created to commemorate her death. So Tielcha became Tailtown, and that's now Tailtown. So we've got that beautiful link with the goddess of the earth, the fertility goddess of the land, a goddess who went through a big journey herself of transformation, that's for another day, and cared for Lu. And it's interesting that we often celebrate at this time the death of the corn god to the goddess, but in this way we're sort of commemorating the death of the goddess by the god, by a solar power. And these games would be part of a 3-day, depending on how important the year was or how important the death was. You know, they'd be there to commemorate those who died that year. They'd be there to commemorate the harvest, and these games could last 3 days of kind of trials and tribulations, and there was loads of different skills involved in these games. And I also at this kind of meetup, there would be things decided. There'd be laws, a bit like an all thing in Viking, in Viking culture, where the tribes would gather for big events, or the kind of the different communities would gather for big events, and usually it's summer times, because it's easiest to get people to travel. there'd be local things, and then there'd be the all thing where you'd have to have representatives from each of the communities to come in, where laws would be read, where marriages would be arranged, where there'd probably be a lot of drinking, feasting and celebrating. And this is that sort of energy that I'm sure people have been coming from miles around to hear the laws being spoken, to hear, to experience the community. To marriages were arranged there, but they were given a year and a day to see if they worked. So you're arranging a marriage, and also commemorating those who died, and taking part in the funeral games as the entertainment, and also proving who's the most talented warrior, etc., etc. So this was, as I mentioned before, predated the Olympic Games, and is very much linked to Lughnasadh. So if you want to kind of get sporty, or or to celebrate, to connect with our loved ones, to get together as a little tribe, and to have that contrast of, this is a time of sacrifice, this is a time of knowing that something has to die to create life. And what does that mean for us in our personal lives? What are we prepared to clear out? What are we prepared to release in order to create the next stage in our journey? All too often we're not going to be directly, maybe we might be, but not directly linked to the produce of our food. But we can take the time to cook, to share, to harvest in our local, at the very least to notice the changing and the ripening colours, to notice how the fruits and the nuts are starting to form, and the vegetables are, well, my tomatoes are looking quite nice out there, and to gather them and to enjoy them and to create something beautiful with them, and to honour the gods, to honour Lu, to honour Tielte, to honour the goddess of the land, the gods of the fertility, and to kind of see that as a beautiful thing, this willing sacrifice to ensure life goes on. And what can we release so that life may go on in a really positive and wonderful way? As I was saying about, this is a solar deity time, but it is that shifting energy. As we know, when we get to August, I'm really hoping it gets to be nicer weather, but there's a lot going on in the world. We'll just take each day as it comes. But the days become noticeably shorter. They start to wane. The nights draw in slowly. Even the days can still be really hot, warm. The nights can start to draw in, and we start to feel that chill and that shift and that change in the air. So this is the sun god's big hurrah before the sacrifice and before the shifting energy, where the winter starts to take sway and we move towards the autumn. But not yet. It's time to celebrate. It's time to create and to craft, to gather our harvest together, to personally and communally reflect on, what we have achieved, overcome, gathered this year, where those thoughts and dreams that began as a spark, where they have led us to, and where do we want them to go. Have some time, if you can, on August the 1st to journal down, or maybe put on your altar a kind of a gratitude bowl of everything that you've accomplished this year, things you're really grateful for, and light your candles and your incense, put the fruits there, and have a big thank you, because it's also this year in 2023, it's going to coincide with a wonderful full moon. It's a super moon month, so we've got 2 full moons in August, so we're going to have a full moon in Aquarius on the festival of Lughnasadh. So it's an amazing time to really bring in that energy of where we've come this year so far, to create some sacred space, to put our gratitude, what we're proud of. And that could be, I got up in the morning when I really didn't want to I survived this, I got a new job, I moved house, I did this, I achieved this, whatever that might be. The little wins are often the things that make us. So don't forget to celebrate those little wins, as well as maybe the bigger things that might have happened this year. And maybe put them in your cauldron, in a bowl, write them down, and give thanks. As you give thanks to your food, give thanks to the gods for all that you have harvested this year so far. And it's a good time to refine and to use that energy of Leo to, I think, big up your plans and goals and dreams, and then start to work on what's important for you as you move forward. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and there'll be more. I'm going to hopefully weather permitting, do some vlogs around Lughnasadh as well. But just the most important thing is you just take some time for yourself to reflect, to walk on the land, to notice. I was noticing the other day quite early that the farmers who are out harvesting the corn is because the weather's been so naff here, so they had to take those sunny days, you know, a week ago and quite recently to harvest when the sun's out. But notice the harvesting that might be going on in the fields, notice the changing colours. I was walking earlier and saw the apples in the orchard slowly reddening, and just notice, you know, what is coming into fruition in nature and in your life as well. So wishing you a magical, beautiful, gorgeous Lughnasadh. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, Imot blessings to you. I hope that you have a blessed harvest, and I will see you all really soon. Bye. The hour may hither drift, when at the last, amid the awearied she, weary of long delight and deathless joys, one you shall love may fade before your eyes may fade and be as mist, caught in the sunny hollow of Lu's hand, Lord of the Day. The Immortal Hour, Fiona MacLeod, 1899.